Columbia County Board of Commissioners, February 16th meeting to order. Alias, if you'll open us with invocation.
Bow with me, please. Our most high and mighty Lord, we come to you and give you thanks for all of the things that you've given us in our community. Let us be good stewards of these gifts. We ask you to look after our first responders, our military, and give them your hedges of protection as they go about their duties. We ask that you reside with us and grant us your wisdom and fairness as we consider the matters before the health of our community. Amen.
Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, Republic for which it stands, nation, God.
Let the record show we have a full quorum of commissioners. We have the minutes from the February 2nd meeting in the packet. Had a chance to review. I'll accept the motion to do so.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, raise your right hand.
I believe we're set, Mr. Chairman.
A couple of special recognitions that we want to jump right into. Start with Commissioner Galius, and he's going to give the 2020 Employee of the Year, Jamarius Tate with Fire and Rescue. Jamarius, you here?
Fine. You're fine. Jamarius is here, and I'm going to read your citation. It's Columbia County 2020 Employee of the Year, Jamarius Tate with Fire Rescue. Lieutenant Jamarius Tate has been with the fire department since 2013. Since being on the department, Lieutenant Tate has worked hard to continuously improve himself in his chosen profession so that he is able to serve the citizens of Columbia County at the highest level possible. Lieutenant Tate makes sure that he meets all of the department's requirements for the position of lieutenant, and while working on those training courses necessary for promotion, he also attended paramedic school at Augusta University. After completing the process to obtain his paramedic license, Lieutenant Tate voluntarily accepted the role of coordinating the department's EMS training while continuing to meet all of his other job functions as a lieutenant. Since taking on this new role, Lieutenant Tate has set up a training program with 5 other field training officers to deliver direct training to every medic in the department. He has also worked with various people throughout the state to get Columbia County First Fire Rescue set up as a national association of EMTs training site, as well as getting the agency started in a new state initiative that will provide funding for national courses to be hosted at Columbia County. Since starting his new responsibilities, Lieutenant Tate has energized the EMS training section of the department. I truly look forward to seeing what Lieutenant Tate and field training officers working with him can accomplish in the future. You've been busy. I need a nap to get through my day, but you can probably run around me. We're very proud of this. Chief, do you have anything to say?
So Lieutenant Tate was Employee of the Month in February because of these contributions. He's an excellent employee, and we're all much safer because he's here with us. But the impact that he's made to our organization in Columbia County with this designation that he achieved has increased our reach across the nation. We have folks from as far as Salt Lake City, Utah, trying to come to the programs that he's established here. Since then, I'd like to mention that he is now volunteering as the marketing director for the Launch program. I can't tell you what Launch is the acronym for. But what he does with this is throughout the state, he's reaching out and mentoring underprivileged kids and teens to expose them to what opportunities exist in the healthcare field, pre-hospital and inside the hospital. And they would otherwise potentially not know what careers are available or how to achieve those careers. And so the impact that he makes here locally and throughout our state is amazing. So thank you.
I really do appreciate all of this. Honestly, I don't need the recognition. I just kind of glad that the impact's out there, and I'm glad that Columbia County gives me the support all the way up to the top, you know, and I'm glad that the citizens get to have this privilege and opportunity to have a good EMS and good patient care provided to them. So, thank you. Oh,
No, thank you. We have this plaque for you. It's not enough, but it's certainly recognition of your efforts. We have a dollar amount, $100? $100, okay. And a day off?
$250.
Taxes are taken out, I'm sorry, okay. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
Now, Vice Chairman Richardson is going to award the Team of the Year, our Roads and Bridges on-call team. Come on down.
Come on, guys, to the center. Y'all on me. Well, this is our group from Roads and Bridges, our on-call group. But these guys just do a fantastic, with the rest of their guys out there, they do a fantastic job day in and day out. But then when something goes wrong and the weather is adverse or trees are down in the roads or whatever it may be, these guys spring into action and they take care of things so we can continue to keep folks being moving through the community, making sure that everybody is continuing to travel and whatever. Kyle, you presented them for Team of the Quarterback when they won that, but I'd like for you to.
Sure. So if you look at the screen here, this is a tree that fell on Tubman Road this past Friday. And I think this photo was taken 6:30 in the morning, and I didn't find out about this until like 1 o'clock that afternoon. They just got in, knocked it out, no issues, opened up the traffic for everyone. I think, Scott, I don't know if you were affected by this or not, but it's right down the road from your
I
house.
got dressed in the dark.
So I would presume this happens several times a month. We just don't know about it because they get out there, they do their job, they do it unassumingly without looking for recognition. And I would just say the whole county appreciates what y'all do. I'm proud to be associated with you.
I'll let them go down the line here, introducing themselves and job you have.
I'm Chris Brazel. I'm a supervisor.
Mark Story, supervisor as well.
Mike Whitaker, Special Projects Manager.
Tony Clark, crew leader.
Stephen Daniels, Light Equipment Operator.
Bill McCorkle, supervisor.
Kurt Oglesby, Crew Leader.
Joe DeVette, Supervisor.
William Traub, just crew member.
This is just a small part of our crew at Roads and Bridges. It's a great honor to receive this award as a Team of the Year. I mean, it wasn't for the support of our commissioners, our administrators, and especially our engineering director, Kyle. We couldn't pull all this off. We have 67 employees that work in our Roads and Bridges department. 2 of those are ladies that work in the office. They run the Roads and Bridges, the 2 ladies in the office. So don't call me if you want to know what's going on. You call Lisa or Sam. They run the office. But seriously, all of our guys that work outside in this we're essential personnel. They get calls day and night, weekends, and they're always willing to get out and lend a helping hand. So I can't thank them enough for their dedication and their service to the citizens of Columbia County. Thank you, Mr. Gary.
And again, this starts at the leadership, and Tim, you do a fantastic job out there, and Mike and Larry and all you guys, and so I can't say thank you enough for what y'all do for this county. Appreciate it.
I'm gonna have to come in together and get a picture and snuggle. I'm gonna file a claim against Matt afterwards. Okay, under presentations, we're fortunate to have our Board of Elections Chair, Mr. Larry Wiggins here. Larry, you wanna come on down? Welcome.
Some brief comments. Chairman Duncan, commissioners, county staff, and ladies and gentlemen. 2020 was a challenging year for the Board of Elections. Not only did we have a presidential primary, a general election, and a statewide runoff for U.S. Senate seats, all three contests saw record turnouts. The elections were held during a time of pandemic with record-setting numbers of both absentee and in-person voting. We had our first ever hand recount of paper ballots for the presidential election, and I'm proud to say that the vote total did not change from the machine count to the hand count. And by the way, all of this was done on new voting equipment with complex new procedures that were used for the first time in 2020. These results confirm an election process that we believe was open, honest, and fair for the voters and all candidates for office in the county. This speaks well for our more than 500 election workers at our office, early voting sites, and 47 election day precincts who were well prepared. They worked very long hours with few complaints. We want to thank them publicly for their commitment and hard work. We could not be more proud of the people or the results. But the work of these elections did not fall only on poll workers. This was an effort of the entire Columbia County government. On behalf of the Elections Board, our Executive Director, Ms. Nancy Gay, and her staff, I would like to thank the County Commission for its support, Mr. Driver, our County Attorney, Scott Johnson and Glenn Kennedy, who are our contacts when special needs arise, which they probably think is too often, but we appreciate them. We especially want to thank the Roads and Bridges Department, Tim, who supplied crews to deliver and retrieve voting equipment to all 47 precincts, and that is a big job. The IT department, who gave us some great logistical support in that area, purchasing department, HR, building maintenance, janitorial services. We could not have done this election without the involvement of all of these good folks. In addition, we thank Sheriff Clay Whittle for the great deputies who gave extra attention to security at the polls. To you and to numerous others, our thanks for a job well done. Very much appreciated. As we move forward, we will continue to train and prepare for the 2022 midterm elections, which will include all statewide offices, the state legislature, the U.S. House, one Senate seat again, and local races. Again, thanks to all involved in this election, and thank you, commissioners, for allowing me to speak today. I hope we can meet again in early 2023 to give thanks for an equally successful election cycle. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman Wiggins, I'd just like to say that I very much appreciate staff and how they went through, what they went through, pull off these elections, especially at a time when there was so many questions, and doubts about the integrity. And it really validated your work when the hand count came back and matched the computer count. So it showed all was right in Columbia County, and that rests with you, the board, and Nancy. Thank you very much. There are three folks who have requested to speak on a particular item. I'm going to those presentations to those we actually get to that item. Commissioners, we go to the consent agenda. The items on the agenda have been through the necessary necessary votes to be placed on the consent agenda. So if they still meet with your approval, I'll accept one motion to approve all.
To accept?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. On to our new business, where the presenters want to speak. Start with Mr. Ryan Wilson. Come down and state your name and address for the record, sir.
Yes, my name is Ryan Wilson. I do have a presentation here, so just a moment. While I set this up, I am from 5959 Boulder Court.
If you may turn, Miss.
There's a gentleman up So as stated, this is reference to zoning from RA to S1 at 5959 Boulder Court. This is our current residence for a small dog boarding operation. So our original narrative said this is a maximum of 20 dogs. We want to go over that real quick and just say that the maximum of 20 dogs would be a maximum surge support. This would be if people were doubling up in kennels, things like that. Ideally, we only want to handle 5 to 10 dogs on a daily basis. Anything more than that would be a little bit difficult and kind of be like a all hands on deck type experience. My wife, Nicole, this would primarily be ran by her. And she has a veterinary assistant certificate as well as years of experience working with this. Plan on the kennel meeting all Georgia Department of Agriculture requirements, and we will get licensed through them. And we'll be incorporated and insured against any liabilities. Her certificate for reference. All animals that we accept on site will be vaccinated or vet waivered for common diseases. Cleaning methods will comply with Georgia Department of Agriculture requirements. We use Parvusol and bleach for most of our cleaning. Bleach will only be used in instances where we suspect some type of illness, and then there's special treating methods that we would use for that. Solid partitions would be used so that no seepage would happen between kennels. And the concrete on the floor and the walls would be epoxy coated so they can't absorb anything. Also, the final note there was that dogs will be walked with individual handlers, and we will use professional style slip leashes so that limits the risk of them off the leash. Talked to the health department about this, and they said they were okay with the methods that we were going to use. The building itself will be also insulated R17. That's for both climate control and noise insulation. Open windows daily for ventilation, but only when people are there to accompany the animals. We'll have an HVAC mini split system installed, and we will also use fans and blowers for circulation and drying. Other than that, we're going to use radio and TV for soothing of the animals. We're going to use cameras to monitor it, and maximum 11 kennels. There's the sizes for those. As far as noise concerns, the building is most central to the property. It's insulated again. Dogs will be outside individually. Our closest neighbor is separated by multiple buildings that we have on the property, and we will walk them in the areas furthest from neighbors. So this is the building right here. As you can tell, it's pretty central to the property, and this is distances to various property lines. I want to talk about this real quick. We do have the largest property on Boulder Court, so therefore I think it's a good area to do this. You can see there's around 300 feet with no line of sight to the nearest neighbor, and there's multiple buildings in between. I also want to point out that our neighbor's property is actually the smallest, and as I started looking into this and looking at how close he is to the property line, I actually realized that his property does not meet zoning requirements for our area. So here's a couple of our neighbors. The house you see to the left is not serviceable. No one lives there. It's an abandoned property. Bottom left, they have no problem with that. We actually have a support letter from the individual bottom center, and we spoke to the individual at the bottom right, and they are for individual property rights. Our neighbor to the south, this is their letter here, but a summary is they've been in the neighborhood for 37 years, and they support the right to use the property as desired. They do not believe the neighbors should be dictating what neighbors do on their property when the properties are indeed large enough. We are on a corner lot, so traffic will be minimized. We have a pull-through driveway, so no one will have to back out into Boulder Court. Traffic would be negligible compared to a business that is already open on the street. And there's a property at the end of the road that has over 10 vehicles parked in their front yard, which probably generates a substantial amount of traffic. It's a dead-end road, so no one would have any need to travel further past our property. So I just want to go over a couple of other dog boarding businesses that are in the area real quick. This is Floyd's Good Dog Kennels here. They raise more than 6 dogs, so they would be required to rezone. It looks like this was established after 2016. They have not rezoned. There's no drainage. It's a smaller property than ours, and it looks like it's basically a shed is the building they're operating out of, which is less space than we would have in the building that we're talking about using. Same thing here, Boardwalk to Park Place. This is also out in the country and at a Grovetown address. They use small crates, have no drainage. This is also a shed and was also not rezoned from RA. Here is a commercial kennel, does not have drains. And the reason I keep mentioning the drains is because that was a particular sticking point during the Planning Commission meeting. And this is next door to a restaurant, and they have very little space for outdoor exercise or activities. This is Paradise Kennels, a large commercial operation nearby. And as you can see here, kennels are stacked, and Georgia Department of Agriculture actually requires you to vacate this entire area before you can hose anything down, because you cannot harm, stress, or wet any other animals in the facility while you're spraying things down. Actually, reading the guidelines from the Department of Agriculture, you can hose things down, but they have strict regulations of how you have to do that. These are the 2 properties I mentioned. The reason I bring these up is because I think they may be in violation of some of the zoning requirements that is in our neighborhood. One, as you can see there, the minimum the acreage size for RA is 2.5 acres. This property here on the left, which is the one that has the proximity concerns, is only 1.75 acres. Additionally, this property you see here on the right, just yesterday had over 10 vehicles parked in their front yard. Some of these vehicles are commercial in nature, and my understanding is that you need to rezone if you have more than 2 commercial vehicles stored on site. So these are some of the zoning concerns I have in the area, and I believe that concludes my presentation.
Any questions? Tim Drennan?
Thank you for your time.
State your name and address for the record, sir.
My name's Tim Drennan. I live at 5953 Boulder Court. The lot that showed 1.75 acres, I'm pretty sure someone had to get a permit in order to build the house on there, so I'm sure it met some kind of requirement. The Planning Commission, if I'm saying that right, took very good notes, so I don't want to waste y'all's time with the notes that were already brought up during that time frame. My main thing is the fact of having up to 20 dogs. I know things are changed, but the zoning says that he requested for was up to 20 dogs. And as a property owner, the value of my property will be affected by the fact that there is a dog boarding station, however you want, business right next to me. I didn't move to the peace and quiet to go out in my backyard. Multiple dogs. Neighbors have dogs. I have dogs. My dogs bark at everything that runs around. Strange animals next door walking with a buffer that's open pines and open, the buildings are, it's just open. You can see my house is 280 foot from this garage. Matter of fact, the arrow points right to my bedroom window. So the noise control is an issue to me. And the fact of having this in a residential area, having a dog boarding place in a residential area. They purchased the property with this dream in the beginning. Maybe they should have talked to the neighbors a little bit and see how we would accept something like this, especially right next door. So it's a large concern to me, to the point where I'm up here talking, to have something like that right next door. My wife did call a couple different appraisers, and it is a negative effect having this next door. People may not really want to even purchase the home, something like that. I'm all about being a good neighbor, and when my dogs bark, they hear about it. I don't have anything for this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Barnett? Please state your name.
Ivy Barnett, and I reside at 5936 Boulder Court. I share the same concerns as my neighbor, as well as his concerns. We have multiple children that reside on the street as well. My neighbor has a 4-year-old, a 10-year-old. Another neighbor has a 1-year-old, 5-year-old, 11-year-old. And the neighbor directly across the street from me has a 6-year-old son, and I have a 3-year-old who resides with me. All of those children like to run and play in the street. I moved to the country from Martinez because it is, and the children can run and play freely. My concerns, I have made contact with our animal control, and while they're stating that this will be a small run facility, my concern is sanitation. Still do have to cleanse the area. Our animal control is a very top-notch facility. To clean the debris for the heavily soiled areas, we have a pressure washer, and they also do use hose and different various uses of cleansers. I did call and speak today with Leslie Lanier at our health department after reading the rezoning application, and they stated that for the small facility, because they said they want up to 20 dogs, that they did approve the rezoning with the intention of 10 dogs, no more than 10 dogs. And I also made contact with Deborah with the Department of Ag, and Rule 40-13-13-0.4 says that they do have to have proper drainage. That is a state rule for the state of Georgia. No matter what size of the kennel, you have to have suitable methods for drainage provided to rapidly eliminate wastes. And because it has to get rid of the excess water and foul odors. And there must have to be traps installed to prevent backup of sewage and to eliminate proper waste. Also have to have proper sanitation for hard surfaces that are conducive to have cleaning water. And this building also does not have running water in it. So if you don't have running water, how are you going to properly cleanse it? The last meeting, they said that they're going to clean with mopping. Where are you going to get the water to clean your facility? Are you going to bring it from your residence? I mean, with the pandemic, one of the main things right now is it's hard to get cleaning materials. So bleach, when you go to Walmart, any store, it says you can only buy 1 bottle of bleach per customer. How are we going to clean this up? Also, when housing or flushing methods are used, as Mr. Wilson says it does say that the animals cannot be harmed, wet, or distressed in the process. If he only has 5 kennels, where are you gonna put the other kennels if your facility is full while you're cleaning your animals? Enclosures must be disinfected. The Department of Ag says hot water or appropriate chemicals or a combination of both. If you use hot water, it has to be 145 degrees. Again, he has no running water in this facility. How are you gonna get it there? Space requirements. He says his kennels are gonna be 3 foot by 5 foot. The last meeting, it says they're gonna be small animals. Okay, a 3 foot by 5 foot, are we only gonna do Chihuahuas, Dachshunds, Papillons? Because in subsidiary M, it says that the primary enclosure for the dogs must be sufficient space for them to lie down without the head, face, or tail, feet touching the sides of the enclosure or touching any other animal in the enclosure, and the interior height of the primary enclosure for the dogs must be at least 6 inches higher than the head of the tallest animal in the enclosure, and that's at a normal standing position. The waste disposal. Where is he gonna put the waste? You have to have a safe disposal for regular waste for it to go. So it does not have contamination and odor. If any of y'all have pets, I have animals at my home. I have 2 dogs, big dogs. They go out and use the bathroom regularly. We have to go out and pick up the poop so it doesn't smell. If he's gonna have a regular routine kennel, just imagine what it's gonna smell like for us, having to smell this. And then he also stated he's gonna make the dogs not bark. That's the nature of the beast. That's how dogs communicate. We as humans talk. Dogs yap. Small dogs, the smaller, the yappier, and the smaller, the yappier, and the scrappier. That's what they want. So I'm just looking out. Once you rezone also from residential to commercial, if this were to go into bankruptcy, foreclosure, it doesn't go back. It stays the commercial property. So those are my concerns. And I just feel like an 864 square foot, squeezing 20 dogs in there is just not realistic. I thank you for listening to my concerns, and I hope that you take the consideration of disapproval from the chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, this went before planning and zoning, did it not? Comments?
I'm going to invite Scott Sterling, our planning director, to the mic and kind of give you a rundown of what went on planning commission.
Chairman. Yeah, pretty much what you've heard thus far was a real good synopsis of what took place at the Planning Commission in terms of public comment. Again, staff, you have a copy of the staff report, the recommendation. You have as part of the staff report, the Board of Health's review, what the application is at this point. So we were under the understanding that the Board of Health Department was okay with the request. The initial request of 5, ramping up potentially all the way to 20, but didn't sound like it was going to be all the way to 20 initially. But generally speaking, the concerns were what you've heard thus far from the folks that have spoke ahead of me. Certainly can answer any questions that you may have on behalf of staff.
Difference between the 10, they were approved for 10 dogs, but they want 20, is that a health department issue?
No, the request was up to 20 dogs as part of the initial request. And there's been talk back and forth about, starting at 5, maybe getting up to work in the neighborhood of 10 with a max number of 20. Usually on these special exceptions, we put a limit on what that top end can be. 20 was decided as part of the initial application process and consultation with the health department.
Questions?
Once a property is approved for S1, it's approved for S1 for an approved list of uses.
No, it is listed only for what is approved for that S1.
For that S1.
So in this particular instance, should the commission approve this, it would be approved for the single-family residence, which is what's occurring currently under the RA zoning, but then also the dog kennel and whatever conditions are attached to that. and nothing else. And if there were a sale transfer in the future to, if you bought it, for example, you could only do you could only do those two things. If you wanted to do something else, you would have to come back and go through this process, whatever modifications you request.
Commissioners, you've heard the sides of the issue.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to disapprove the request for a rezoning from RA to S1 for tax map 041066 for the addition of a dog boarding.
Second?
All in favor, signify by raising your right hand.
Item 2, Mr. Chair. I make a motion to rezone from M1 to RA for property located at tax map 040063.
Second.
So you see here, this was county-initiated zoning originally to go to M1 along I-20 when I-20 was constructed. So this would be a change in zoning to RA, which would match the surrounding area to allow houses to be built. Currently, houses cannot be built in the M1 district. Is RA will require 2.5 acre lots.
Could be an acre, whatever, and
Minimum is 2.5 acres.
there's certain requirements as far as the road going in.
That's correct. That's right. So
Lots?
on an easement, you can only have 4 lots. So any more than 4 lots, you would have to actually construct a road that would meet county standard. So if it's gonna be more than 4 lots, the road will have to go in unless they have frontage on, Swint Road. But I'm not sure you get that many road. I mean, you can see on the drawing here, you do have some creeks through there, so there are some environmental impacts that have to be worked around as well, so. Not an easy site to develop.
Motion on the floor, all in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries.
Item number 3, Mr. Chair. I make a motion to approve the request for a variance to section 90-135 signs for the property located at tax map 074A023. Permit the square footage of the freestanding sign subject to the conditions enumerated in the February 4th, 2021 Planning Commission report.
Second.
This is a request for a variance to increase the signage amount above code. However, this is existing sign that was being refaced and damage was found. So when the damage was found, they decided to redo their sign. So even though you're giving a variance to increase sign allowance above our code, the sign is actually getting smaller than what exists. See here, we're going from 135 square feet at the top to 110, and 160 stays the same. The 100 square feet stays the same, but your height goes 113.6 to 113.6. But you're actually reducing size of the sign, but because it's technically a new sign under our code, you have to grant them a variance to put it back. That's confusing, I understand, but you're granting an increase above code, but it's actually a reduction in size sign.
Bottom 2 sections say the same.
Based on this, I believe it actually got shorter. I'm not so sure that overall height is correct. I believe it actually got shorter. They had to take a section of the pipe out, so I believe it got shorter as well. Is that right?
It did. The overall square footage was larger than what has been reconstructed. When they went to do the reface, they found structural damage to the actual pole to the point where it was a health hazard and safety hazard, so they had to repair it. In order to do that, they had to take the sign down to the ground, which then puts it into a complete removal situation. But because it was deemed a health safety hazard, we allowed them to make those repairs. In doing so, they actually did reduce the overall height of the sign. But I think it was
8 feet.
Yeah, 8 feet, I was gonna say. And then in the attempt to put the sign back up, they made the sign a little bit smaller. So instead of it being 390 square feet, it's down to like 370. Half.
What happens if we say,
They have to take the sign down, and then they have to bring it into compliance with our current code standards, height and area.
100 feet.
Questions? All in favor?
Item 4, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the request for a variance, section 90-53, list of lot and structural requirements for tax map 077041, in order to reduce the required setback to 10 feet from each property line.
Second?
This lot is a flagpole lot. It does have a existing 20-foot side setback. They're asking it reduced to 10 to do some expansion of the house.
Raise your right hand. Carries. Next item on the agenda.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Hearing, call it to order. License for Tumbleweeds Tavern, DBA Backyard. Representing the tavern that.
Mr. Chairman, I believe it'd be appropriate to have the staff come forward to present the case and then let the folks from Backyard Tavern be able to provide their testimony, call any witnesses or whatever the case may be.
Cross-examine.
And they'll be able to cross-examine the county should they choose to do that. So we're gonna have, take care of it? So Ms. Rhodes, our code enforcement manager, take care of it.
Evening. This hearing request was made by Ms. Janice Williams, the licensee of this alcohol, or what we know as the Backyard Tavern. On around the 21st of January, we got a complaint that there was not a full-service kitchen located at this 218 South Valley Road. And we investigated that and found out that that in fact was the truth. There's no full-service kitchen. Our alcohol ordinance, a full-service kitchen is required in order to have an alcohol license. Since that was not found, we discussed it amongst staff, Paul and Matt, and decided that a suspension would be in order until the time that the folks could get a full, which they had intended on doing, or at least that's what they let us know when we were in the middle of the investigation. However, there was an air fryer, a microwave, sinks, large hood vent system that looked like they were getting ready to do all of the things that were required, but in fact, since it wasn't there then, that means it was not there at the time the application was originally submitted to Ms. Hall. And that is our recommendation, that you uphold the suspension of that alcohol license until the time that they have a full service.
they get a license? I mean, when they applied, did they have to, or did they have a kitchen? When they
The
came in
alcohol
to
license
offer the
itself?
alcohol license?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Malier, that's
Oh,
Ms. Hall's
okay,
expertise
I
in the
apologize.
application area.
I was just trying to figure out how they
There's-
got the license.
How did we get
Didn't
where we
already-
are?
Yeah.
There's in the application, they sign a statement that they are following all of our rules for the alcohol license. They do have the full-service kitchen. I believe we do have that
We do.
application. I'd like to see it. So they certify that they have what they say they have. We have now implemented a process where we'll go verify.
I have one other question. Ms. Rhodes, when you went out and served the suspension notice, is it your understanding, or is there any evidence to the contrary that they continued to serve alcohol beyond the time when you served them the suspension notice?
There is. Mr. Miller evidently didn't understand the day that I went out there to hand deliver the letter on the 3rd of February. I've been accused of a lot of things, but not communicating is not one of them. Hand delivered the same letter that we gave the licensee through certified mail. Mr. Miller is actually not the licensee. He is what we understand as the operating manager. I had a discussion with he several times that day with some other members of my staff, as well as his wife Lisa, on my way out the door. They were serving at that time. I really thought that he and I were clear on the expectation that suspension would start immediately. And that was our discussion that day. On Friday, when the Department of Revenue agent called, Keenan Dornan, he was on his way out there to follow up with our email to him that we had suspended it locally pending a hearing request. And when Keenan got there, he called me later that night because I told him to let me know what happened. They were serving when he walked in. But he posted the door. He did say Mr. Miller was very cooperative. Mr. Miller called me that afternoon. I explained again on the phone that our discussion on Wednesday was specifically that the suspension started immediately. Now, he had folks in the establishment. I certainly didn't want to embarrass him or any of his staff there. So, we were really discreet about it, but I think that it was clear.
Aside from the cease and desist, we have a formula for food versus alcohol. And how do we examine, or how do you examine whether a facility and it's a place's business is meeting that formula?
That is typically handled through the application process.
Okay.
If we were called in to do an audit or something like, certainly we would follow up with that, but that actually had nothing to do with this particular complaint. The complaint was simply that they didn't have a full-service kitchen. They may or may not meet that requirement without having a full-service kitchen. However, the license, the business license and the occupation tax are both issued to a full-service restaurant. How they meet that quota is entirely up to them as long as they meet the licensing qualifications.
Okay.
That make sense?
I think
It's a
Mr.
50-50, right? 50%.
Yes, I was going to say,
believe
I think the point to be made here is even with a full-service kitchen, Columbia County requires you to serve alcohol. You have to be a restaurant and you have to serve food. That's where the full-service kitchen comes in. So there is a 50% requirement on food. So, moving forward, that's something obviously that they would also have to do. They have to comply with all the aspects of the code. Currently, we're only dealing with the fact that they don't have a full-service kitchen, but that's something that could be addressed.
You have a definition.
We do.
We do. Would you like for me to read it to you? Or we do?
Could you please?
Oh, yes, sir.
Not real lengthy, could you?
Yes, sir. A full-service kitchen is a kitchen that must contain at least a 3-compartment pot sink, a commercial-grade stove or grill and oven, which is permanently installed, and a commercial-grade cooler or refrigerator. The full-service kitchen must be approved by the Health Department, Development Services Division, and the Fire Marshal, where state law requires the establishment to be inspected by the Fire Marshal.
Questions? Mr. Miller? By chance?
And he's welcome to ask her questions if
Sure, absolutely. Got any questions? Or state your name and address.
Chad Miller. Use your state address, 509 Bunchgrass Street, Evans, Georgia. I prepared a little something, and it's basically it's just a timeline of events from my perspective of how we got to where we're at today. I'll read it. Dana Rose and Dennis West visited the tavern for the first time on January the 18th, asked to see our kitchen. Showed her our kitchen, explained to her that we utilize a commercial air fryer. This was the way business has always been done for food establishment, going back to the previous ownership. The previous owner did it this way for 11 years. On the 19th of January, received a call from Dana Rhodes stating that we were not in compliance with Columbia County Alcohol Code. I asked her how we are out of compliance, and she informed me that we did not meet the requirements for a full-service kitchen. I explained that the business has always ran this way. The Health Department and other entities of the county have visited the establishment and in the past and never notified us that we were non-compliant. Said at this point, she would definitely be shutting us down. Once we got off the phone, I called Deputy Fire Marshal Paul Vance to discuss what it would take to bring our hood system up to code. Paul Vance said he would send over the items that would need to be addressed in order to bring the hood system into compliance. On the 20th, received an email and subsequent phone call from Paul Vance stating that the code and he would require for the hood system to become compliant. I received a phone call from Dana Rhodes requesting an on-site visit with Paul Scarberry on the 28th at 2 p.m. I informed her that I'd already reached out to Paul Vance in order to get the hood system into compliance. She proceeded to tell me how unhappy she was for reaching out to him. She wanted to know why I would involve him in this. I informed Dana that I had been previously dealing with him and bringing the hood into the compliance. We are serious about doing what it takes to get the facility in compliance with Columbia County. She stated that once a different organization gets involved, everyone else should stay out of it. I apologize, as I was only trying to be proactive and move the project along as quick as I could. Later on that day, I met with a friend of mine to discuss the plans for the kitchen and other items that required in order to comply with Columbia County Code. He came up with a design over the next 24 hours. He contacted a mechanical contractor to discuss what was required for the hood system. On 122, we procured all of the kitchen equipment. On 124, we began phase 1 of the kitchen install. A partition wall to accommodate the new kitchen equipment was installed. On the 28th, Paul Scarberry, Dana Rhodes, Dennis West, and a guy from the Water Utility Department, I can't remember his name, I apologize. Environmental search arrived at the tavern for another on-site inspection. Dana explained that we were not in compliance and asked if we were going to bring the business into compliance. I said, of course. What choice do we have? She again asked the question, are you sure you're going to do this? And I said, again, yes, we are going to bring the building into compliance. At that time, the water department stated that we need about a 1,500 gallon grease interceptor and a backflow preventer at the water main. After learning of our operation and future plans for food service methods, he believed that we would only require a 1,000 gallon tank. The fact that we have no future plans or room for a commercial dishwasher. During this time, Dana Rhodes walked around the facility and took pictures of all of our amusements. She took special interest in our Georgia Lottery coin-operated amusement machines. These are licensed through the state of Georgia. These are not gambling machines as described in our suspension. After around 1 hour, they all left the facility. Dana said that she would be in touch and would let us know what their decision was on whether or not they would allow us to continue to operate our business. On the 29th, we contacted the plumber to install the backflow preventer and agreed to pricing with him. Install was scheduled for 2/5. On 2/3, we received a visit from Dana Rhodes and Dennis West. We were hand-served a letter stating that Columbia County was initiating an alcohol license suspension due to the lack of a full-service kitchen and gambling machines. We were informed that we had 7 days to request a hearing to discuss this with the Columbia County Commissioners and obtain their decision of what we would be facing. On 2/4, certified letter went to the license holder, Janice Williams. This timestamped the 7-day response to Columbia County Developmental Services for a response and request of hearing. On 2/5, the State of Georgia Alcohol and Tobacco Officer stopped by the tavern and issued a cease and desist notice, issued in response to a notification of license suspension from Columbia County. I was in shock that our license had been suspended. The letter that was issued clearly stated Columbia County was initiating a suspension pending a hearing. I called Dana Rhodes to confirm that this was true. She explained that it was absolutely true. Our license has been suspended. I asked why we were not given any time to comply. She stated that it's our job to comply with the county code, stated it was the codes, it was all in the codes and we should understand the code. I thanked her for her time. On 2/6, we began installing new floor in the kitchen. On 2/7, finalized floor and install. 2/8, plumber began backflow preventer install. 2/9, hand-delivered request for hearing, letter to Paul Scarberry. On 2/10, met with Coleman Mechanical on site to discuss the hood system. On 2/11, 10 a.m., received phone call from Dana Rhodes and Paul Scarberry requesting a meeting in their office as soon as practical. My contractor, Jim Allen, and I met with the Columbia County team at 11 a.m. In attendance was Paul Scarberry, Dana Rhodes, Paul Vance, and a few others. Discuss moving forward and all that we would be required to do in order for us to become compliant with Columbia County Code. On 2/12, our backflow preventer install was complete. Hired an engineer to create a set of drawings for the permit submittal on our final kitchen design. Those are due out at the end of this week. On 2/13, began preparing bathrooms to upgrade with new finishes and floorings. 15, met with the utility contractor to engage them on the grease trap installation. On 2/16, we're here today. So I know it's a lot of information. I just kind of wanted to bring you guys in. From our perspective, this kind of moved very fast. So kind of came in, our understanding was we needed to serve food. As far as what a full service was, a full service kitchen was to be considered, we were unaware. This is the way this business that we purchased from the previous owner had always run. Nothing had changed. You know, the only thing I can ask is for leniency. We are moving forward to install all of the required kitchen, you know, appurtenances. We're putting the hood, you know, getting the hood system straightened out. We're moving forward with the grease trap install. I understand we need to be compliant prior to, you know, opening back up. And all we ask is, you know, that our little family business is allowed to open back up and everybody we employ back to work.
Not serving alcohol now.
We're not open right now. We've closed completely.
Estimate, I read something where 85% done.
Yeah, that was in one of the responses that they were 85% done on the
The
8th, I
interiors are
believe.
85% done, and then the big thing is obviously just getting the mechanical guys in there to finish up the mechanical work on the hood system, and then the utility contractor to install the grease trap.
Owner sell distilled.
Distilled spirits, no. It was beer and wine, but alcohol, you know, but in my understanding from learning more and more about this process, you know, I don't think the distilled spirits is the issue with the alcohol code and having the full service kitchen, but I could be wrong.
It's all about 50/50.
Yes, sir.
So you have to sell it.
What is your,
Right now, it's just gonna be dependent on some permits and some other things, but, it depends on, the biggest thing is probably the grease trap guy and their availability, but we're hoping to have all of this completed within the next. But we've pushed, I mean, we're pushing forward, you know, exponentially, you know, we're putting a lot of heart and soul in this, you know, trying to get this done. A lot of our finances are going into this, you know. It is a family business for us. Like, you know, my daughter works there, you know, my wife works there, you know, I'm there all the time as well. So it's definitely a family-run business.
our big call? Oh,
We didn't know. So, I mean, we had talked about it, doing a kitchen, but that was just for you, because we wanted to do some more things on the menu items. But it was never to our understanding that we had to have this, you know, level of service as far as the kitchen. Our understanding was we had to serve food. And, you know, being that we bought this business from, you know, that was up and running from another, you know, from the previous owner, and he ran the exact same way that we did outside of spirits for 11 years. We're under the impression that this was all on board, and this is how we could do business here. License holder.
application. It's my understanding that the license holder has to sign an affidavit saying we had with everything we understand. I believe keep a copy of the ordinance or the laws on hand, you understand, or already have complied. That ever discussed?
I can't speak for that. Yeah, if you want.
I mean, did you?
No, because I mean, honestly, you know, our understanding, there was never any for us. You know, we never read into the full service kitchen and what that was required. And I don't know if we ever knew that we required a full service.
I'm Janice Williams.
State your address for the record.
Your address.
My home address, I'm a dual resident, 3910 Haley Road, Martinez, Georgia, and 1035 Lake Drive, Lincolnton.
My question was, when you made your application for the alcohol license, originally, your application has an affidavit on there that says, I understand the laws and the rules, I'm meeting them, and I'm complying. Understand, or?
I kind of understand. I bought the tavern from Rick. He told me it was turnkey, that everything was compliant, that everything was good. Serving food out of the air fryers. Everything's already pre-cooked. All we do is heat it up in an air fryer. We don't serve any raw meats or anything raw. He said it's all turnkey. Bought it from him. He showed me his list of health departments, all 100s. Everything was, I thought we were all good. I guess I made a misunderstanding. We were always going to put in a full service because I've always wanted to cook there. But, so our goal all along was to do the kitchen. We just thought it was a bonus. We didn't realize we weren't in compliance. I truly apologize because we're going to be full service. It's going to go full speed ahead right now. I think probably within the next completely done, and y'all are welcome to come to lunch. I really thought I was buying a turnkey tavern.
Grandfathered in, was there
No,
Below the radar?
I think it probably flew below the radar.
What I hear you saying is you're gonna be a full service. You're not open right now, and you're not gonna open until you.
We're compliant.
Until we meet every rule y'all have, we're not gonna open.
Paul, how quickly can we get out there to verify that as soon as they get it done?
Mr. Miller and I have been communicating quite well, so if he gives me a call tomorrow, we'll be out there the very next.
Yeah, Paul's been great to work with.
Got a lot of stuff on the
Yeah,
table.
so,
What was
so the question before you is, can they continue to serve alcohol while they're going through this process? Is really the question before you today. Can they continue to serve? That's the reason for the hearing. And I want to state for the record, the county did not shut them down. You're not shut down. You can open tomorrow. You can't serve alcohol.
That's correct.
So you could serve the food that you have been serving tomorrow.
Yeah, it's just, you know, if we're gonna do, you know, a remodel, we're gonna do a remodel, we're gonna do
Understand.
it right, and take this time to other things that we.
I do have a question going forward, though. Do you consider the Tavern on Bel Air now, do you consider it a restaurant or a bar? You consider it a restaurant. But all of your advertising on your social media and on your website says bar. There's no mention of restaurant. It says specifically, the Tavern on Bel Air is an established bar that aims to build community by providing drinks that bring people together in an atmosphere that is a hub for local entertainment.
And that's probably poor choice on my part as far as the wording. That is kind of borrow a lot of that information that I created. That was part of a template. Probably should have.
And then again, on another page, established in 2020, the Tavern on Bel Air is a cozy take on a traditional bar.
I changed a few words.
The only reason I ask these questions is because while we're having the hearing, we want to see you be successful in Columbia County. We really do. But to be successful in Columbia County, you're going to have to operate a restaurant that serves alcohol, not a bar that serves food. I think that's going to be an important piece going forward as we're working with you. Okay.
And I'll edit the website.
Okay.
It was my original goal to
Sure.
create a gastropub.
Okay.
Where all the food is, the meat is handmade, everything is done by hand, it's all fresh, made
Sure.
that day. Nothing frozen, nothing, anything. Our whole goal was to create a really awesome gastropub that serves alcohol.
Okay.
That is our long-term goal, and in fact, that's become our short-term goal.
And I think that's fair. So the question before the board tonight for the hearing is whether or not they can continue to serve alcohol while they are under this suspension.
They're not serving alcohol.
Well, they're not, but if you told them they could tonight, then they could go back serving tomorrow.
Right.
But
Sounds
as
like
of,
you're not asking to do that, though, are you?
Right now, I mean, our biggest goal is we want to get a remodel. Right now, I couldn't open tomorrow if I wanted to.
so there's really there's no question for the hearing at this point. If you're not asking for anything, you're not asking the board to do anything, it sounds like you're telling the board what you are going to do to get into compliance. Would that be correct? Okay.
We want you to succeed.
Yeah.
Not a person up here that wants to take you
Right.
out. I mean, we want you to succeed.
I agree with everything. But I think we need to go ahead through the hearing so there's no understanding.
You can make you could make the motion.
Because it sounds like to me, when they get ready, they're gonna open up and everything's gonna be good to go. They're gonna have their kitchen, they're gonna have their license approval from, Paul's gonna be signed up, and we're all good to go.
So if you uphold this,
Not putting any gray in it, and let's go ahead and just get a clean.
should you do that tonight, right? You could uphold the suspension tonight, which was the reason for the hearing. And even with you upholding the suspension, staff would still work with the applicant, and we would not have to come back before this board for any reason. I do want to make one other thing, just so everybody knows. I think you guys are trying to work with us, and we're trying to work with you too, just to understand that, and I know there's a little bit of miscommunication, but the fact that you served after you were served with the suspension could have led to a revocation that was a 10-year revocation. So the county has not moved on that revocation. So just so you understand that, we are trying to work with you, and this board is a business-friendly property owner rights board, and we understand that. So I don't want anybody to think that the county's trying to come down on you, but at the same time, we have rules and regulations we have to enforce, and we're trying to enforce those the best we can.
There was a misunderstanding.
I understand.
We thought we were okay
Sure.
until this meeting.
Okay,
We thought this meeting was
and that's fair.
the deciding point.
That's fair.
That's why he shut it down the minute he got, the very minute.
Well, I'm glad you didn't get revoked then, because that would have been tragic.
Because that's tragic, and it was truly a misunderstanding.
I understand.
So going forward, you do understand that we're restaurants, we're not in the business of bars, okay? Do you have some mechanism for showing anyone who asks to see your compliance with the formula in terms of sales?
Do you have a POS?
Oh, absolutely, 5
Yeah.
of them.
So we could pull the POS
Okay.
seats.
So I have a technical question on this. Once the county signs off on it, I believe, so the State Department of Revenue is involved when it comes to alcohol. How quickly can we send information to Atlanta and help them get back on track with the state as well?
Immediate, so the cease and desist was based on the fact that they were serving alcohol after the county served them with a suspension. So the state would be fine removing that cease and desist as soon as the county is okay with allowing them to continue under their license. We can take, we'll take care of that administratively. It's not gonna be a long, drawn-out process for that.
They're waiting on our call.
Yeah.
Give them, make the call to them.
And they're local, the agents are local,
Oh, good.
or they have districts, rather, but.
Questions?
I'd like to move forward, if you don't mind, with the motion.
Close the hearing first. Scott?
You can, Mr. Chairman, yes, sir.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
There is, I'd like to make this motion. I make a motion to uphold the suspension of the alcohol beverage license, Tumbleweeds Tavern, DBA Backyard Tavern, until fully compliant with applicable county codes, or the expiration of the current license.
A second.
Other discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Stay in touch with Paul. Right. Any other legal matters?
No other legal matters.
Public comments or participation? Executive session issues? Right here and then.
Okay. Make a motion to approve $500 for Hooker Farm Development Parcel 5. Easements for the intersection of Hooker Farm and Blanchard.
Second.
We're requiring this easement here to allow for the install of the left turn lane and the right turn lane and the traffic signal.
Questions?
Make a motion to approve resolution number 1-03, order of condemnation, portion of tax map, Lakes Community.
Second.
We'll let Mr. Driver address the next three since they are legal matters.
We didn't have any legal matters.
That's right. Well, this is a condemnation. It's not because there's a fight. It's because you'd have to have a vote of probably 75% of the homes to approve this. So anytime we have an HOA, most of the time we're going to have to go to condemnation.
Questions?
I make a motion to approve resolution -04, declaration of taking, order of condemnation for a portion of tax map 059 Christchurch, Augusta, Inc.
Second.
This one is a disagreement over value.
Questions? All in favor, signify by
Make a motion to approve resolution number 21-05, taking for a portion of tax map 0 Kerr for the widening of Lewis.
Second.
This one, we had an agreement, meeting of the minds between the county and the property owner, but there's banks involved and the difficulty in trying to get a release from the bank. We've tried for months and months and months. So this is the way we get it done.
questions? Nothing left on the agenda? Is there any other motions that need to be made?
I make motion that we adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second, sir.
Raise your right hand.